Hey, Bold and the beautiful fans, it's Radhika from Radhika Storyline, and we're going to talk about the fallout hitting Bold and the beautiful this week. But first, please hit subscribe if you're not already following us. So let's get into it because this week on B&B, we saw Dylan finally land well. And look, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this moment because Dylan has clearly had her eye on him for a while now. So the setup here was that Will was heartbroken. We don't get every detail on why, but the raw beats tell us Dylan was the one comforting him, and honestly, comfort turned into something more real fast. One thing led to another, and the two of them slept together. Which, okay, dramatic soap timing as usual, nothing happens slow on this show. And then we cut to the morning after, and both of them are just glowing. Smiles all around, very cozy. This could be the start of something. I mean, on the surface, sweet moment, right? Two people who clearly like each other finally taking the leap. I loved the tenderness of it, not going to lie. And you knew there was a but coming. Dylan goes into work at Forrester the next day still riding that high, and Electra clocks it immediately. Because that's what best friends do. They know your face before you say a word. So Electra asks what's got her all smiley, and Dylan, bless her, just can't help herself. She brings up Will. And Electra puts it together in about 2 seconds flat. Tell me you didn't, she says, and honestly, the way that line lands, you already know the answer. So now we've got a full-blown fracture between these two. And look, I get why Electra's upset. This was clearly her worst fear, the thing she probably saw coming from a mile away and hoped wouldn't happen. But here's the thing, Will's a free agent. Nobody did anything technically wrong here. Dylan didn't steal anyone. So is Electra completely justified in blowing up? Or is this more about her own feelings for Will finally boiling over? Honestly, that's the real question this storyline is asking, whether we get an explicit answer or not. Meanwhile, over at Logan, we've got Steffi showing up uninvited to have words with Hope. And Steffi wastes zero time. She's straight in with the accusations, basically blaming Hope for betraying Forrester by doing her own thing. Hope, to her credit, does not back down. She tells Steffi she's finally somewhere she's wanted, away from Steffi's control, which, ouch, but also, good for her honestly. That's a line a long time coming. Steffi's not moved though. She turns it around and says Hope's the one who pulled the pin on this whole feud, called her the one who started the war. Classic Steffi, always flipping the narrative back onto whoever's in front of her. And Hope's not exactly innocent in all this either, so really neither one of them is wrong, and neither one of them is going to admit it. This Forrester versus Spencer thing is not cooling down anytime soon. That much is obvious. So that's the recap, a new couple born out of heartbreak, a best friendship in ruins, and a corporate rivalry turning personal all over again. Now, let's get into where I think all of this is heading, because there's a lot to unpack here. First up, let's talk Dylan and Electra, because I think this friendship is not just cracked, I think it's basically doomed for the foreseeable future. I suspect Electra is not going to cool off quickly. This isn't a give it a day kind of hurt. This feels like a betrayal that's going to fester. My guess is we get at least a few episodes of Electra giving Dylan the cold shoulder, maybe even some passive-aggressive digs at Forrester in front of others. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if this becomes a full workplace situation, because these two clearly cross paths there constantly. Next, I'm betting Electra's anger isn't purely about loyalty. I wonder if there's something deeper going on with her, and Will that she hasn't said out loud yet. Because that reaction, tell me you didn't, that's not just a friend being protective, that's someone who sounds personally wounded. So I could see a reveal down the line that Electra had real feelings for Will all along and never told Dylan, which would honestly explain the intensity here a lot better than pure friendship betrayal would. Another possibility, and I think this one's not a stretch at all, is that Will ends up caught in the middle of this whole mess. Because right now, he's just happily waking up next to Dylan with no idea a friendship bomb went off because of him. I suspect once he finds out what this has cost Dylan socially, he's going to feel responsible, guilty even, and that could put a wedge into this brand new relationship before it even really gets going. New romances on this show rarely get to just be happy for long, so I wouldn't get too attached to the honeymoon phase. And then there's the question of whether Dylan even cares that much about losing Electra as a friend right now. Because from what we saw, She was too wrapped up in her own happiness to really register the damage. I could see a storyline where Dylan has to reckon with that later, maybe feel some guilt once the initial glow wears off and she realizes what she actually lost. That's usually how these things go. The immediate aftermath is bliss, and then reality creeps in a few episodes later. Last but not least on this front, I'm curious whether this becomes a bigger triangle than we think. Right now it reads as Dylan versus Elektra over Will, but soaps love a good triangle twist, and I wouldn't put it past the writers to bring Will's own feelings into question at some point, especially if Elektra's history with him gets revealed. So keep an eye on that, because I don't think we've heard the full story on why Elektra reacted that hard. Now, switching gears to Steffi and Hope, because this rivalry is clearly not winding down anytime soon. First up here, my guess is this Forrester versus Spencer war escalates before it resolves. Steffi accusing Hope of pulling the pin tells me she's not looking for peace right now, she's looking to win. And Hope standing her ground instead of folding tells me she's not backing off either. So I could see this turning into a full-blown business rivalry storyline, with both of them trying to one-up each other publicly, which, honestly, is peak soap opera fashion war energy, and I am here for it. Another angle worth watching. I wonder if this Hope and Steffi tension ends up pulling other characters into it, the way these things always seem to spiral outward on this show. It rarely stays contained to just the two of them for long. So, quick secondary storyline before we wrap this up, because Sheila's situation deserves a mention. Sheila is still desperately trying to work her way into Finn's life, and Steffi is holding firm, telling her she's off limits to the family, no exceptions. And look, we've seen Sheila do this dance before, so I don't think anyone's shocked she's not giving up. She's sitting there alone, asking Steffi why she won't let her in, and it's almost sad if you forget everything Sheila's actually done to earn that distrust. Honestly, that's on brand for her, wanting forgiveness without really reckoning with the reign of terror she's put this family through. My guess is she's already cooking up some diabolical little plan to force her way back in, because Sheila never really gives up, she just regroups. So here's my honest take on all of it. I think Dylan and Elektra's friendship is heading for a genuinely painful breakup, and I don't think it gets patched up easily, if at all this season. And I think Steffi and Hope are gearing up for their biggest clash yet, one that's going to pull the whole Forrester and Spencer world into it. We'll see. Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Radhika Storyline is on all the major podcast platforms including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.